What is in the water and how harmful could it be?
Water's brown, has a bad odor. I'm afraid to even feed it to my cat or my dogs.
We should not have to pay for the water. It's nasty.
Is it possible that with clean water we are poisoning ourselves? Water, the most fundamental part of our lives as we know it, it's a clear, tasteless and odorless substance, yet it holds unimaginable power, supporting existence of all recognised forms of life on Earth. But with our dependence on it and our recycling of it, could we be poisoning ourselves? Well, chemists at Columbia University and other institutions say they have found evidence, and it's a lot worse than we expected. What if the very fluid that gives us life is also our own terminal disease? As we grapple with the mounting problems of pollution and contamination, the quest for clean water has become a pressing need, a need that is felt more now than ever before. We find ourselves growing increasingly dependent on the variety of chemicals for purification. Chemicals that, while in effect might be cleansing our water, might also be risking our own health at the same time. Chlorine, a commonly used chemical in water treatment processes, is a prime example of this. It has proven its effectiveness in eliminating harmful bacteria, but what about the potential hazardous material that's left behind? Some studies suggest that these byproducts could pose considerable health risks. Chlorine, however, is one of many chemicals that are already involved in this process. As our industrial world generates an unimaginable amount of waste, much of it inevitably finds its way to our water system. This waste not only pollutes its water source, but its treatment, often necessitating the use of more chemicals to offset the issues caused by chlorine and other processing. Then there's the issue of the other toxic environments that we are creating. With each passing day, our actions are drastically altering the natural world, more than likely in ways that could be irreparable. And our rivers, lakes, and oceans are the unsuspecting victim in these changes. Their once crystal clear waters now contaminated by a willful negligence of humankind. As we march into the future, these issues will only multiply and become more complex. Our incessant need for clean water will continually conflict with the harsh realities of a rapidly changing world. On one side, there's a need for clean water and our continued survival. On the other side is more about obtaining the water and how we can get it to a clean point. The cycle of water, a vital component of our planet's well-being, brings life to every corner of the Earth. Each molecule has a story to tell, from its snow-capped mountains to the deepest parts of the Earth's crust. This journey, however, has been significantly transformed in our rapidly developing world. It begins in the heart of nature, percolating through the layers of Earth, emerging as pristine springs. This water, pure and unadulterated, would flow through the network of veins etched into the Earth's surface, gushing from pristine springs, cascading down magnificent waterfalls, meandering through meadows and valleys, eventually reaching our homes and lives. But there are more issues than just chlorine. Factories, a symbol of development, started to taint the water, seeping harmful pollutants into its very core. The water that did run pure and clear is now a horrific toxic soup, and these are some of the things that they found. Also, just a quick note, I probably will butcher some of these names. Forgive me, I've researched them. I think I'm saying them right, but I'm not sure. Please don't destroy me too much in the comments.
Painkillers, blood thinners, and chemotherapy drugs are just some of the substances that are found in your drinking water. There's new information that some drugs are ending up in our water at levels never seen before.
Things like birth control pills, antibiotics, antidepressants, they excreted and ended up in the water systems. This comes from human and animal waste.
This spot in the Haw is directly impacted by the PFAS load that's coming directly from Burlington's East Wastewater Treatment Plant.
Forever chemicals, PFAS, Specifically mentioned are PFOAs, PFOS, and Gen-X. These are highly persistent and bioaccumulative chemicals used for products like non-stick coatings and firefighting foam, as well as packaging and nanoplastics. Lead, primarily from lead pipework, from old lead pipework. Lead exposure is especially harmful to children. Fluoride. This has been intentionally added to many water systems for reasons of dental health benefits, but of course concerns have been raised about the amount of fluoride in the water. They've also found traces of arsenic in the water. Bisphenol A, BPA, and bisphenol S, BPS, chemicals used in plastics that can leach into bottled water. Both are endocrine disruptors. Basically, they mess with your glands and your hormones. Phthalates.
Industry started using phthalates about 50, 60 years ago, around the time of the plastics revolution. Phthalates are a family of chemicals, and they're used in many, many different consumer products, ranging from building materials, adhesives, to personal care products. So in our perfumes and colognes, nail polish. They're very widely used to soften plastics, specifically vinyl plastic, which is made from polyvinyl chloride.
In fact, there's such a huge array of chemicals left in the water supply that there aren't enough tests at this point so we can work out every single one of these chemicals, which is a horrifying thought. There are so many chemicals in the water that we can't test them all because we don't have the facilities or the technology to do so yet. We have conjured up sophisticated systems and innovative technologies to clean the lifeblood of our planet, striving to remove the toxin that we inadvertently introduce. But the question's gotta be asked, is it all a little bit too late? Chemical treatments, intricate filtration systems, desalination plants, our society stands upon vast infrastructure established to ensure that pure water flows freely from our taps. Yet this shift from natural to processed water brings a set of chemicals we leverage to purify water. The energy we expand to power these process plants, the waste we produce and process, all contribute to environmental concerns. Yet there is a question we need to answer, and that is, we are stripping the water of potentially where it came from by adding chemicals, or we're adding to the water. But are we moving the goalposts in terms of nature's vitality of the water that should be coming out? Are we adding to it? We're certainly messing with it. Is that the right thing to do, or isn't it? Water now undergoes a heavy transformation before it reaches us. Are we simply replacing one form of contamination with another? But what about the oceans, I hear you ask? Well, a sudden and disastrous increase in sea pollution over the past 100 years, ranging from plastic waste to chemical runoff, is tarnishing these waters, making everything coming off them less and less suitable for human consumption. This raises yet another terrifying question. Are we as a species slowly but certainly poisoning the very source of life that sustained us throughout? And what's even more distressing is that we are adding plastics, hundreds of tons of plastics, into our oceans every single year. Hundreds of tons. These plastics over time will break down, yes, but into minuscule particles referred to as microplastics. These are now ubiquitous in every segment of our marine environment. When water is sourced from these oceans for drinking purposes, these microplastics inevitably find their way into our systems, posing potential health risks that we are only beginning to understand.
We see clearly in the lumen the microplastics. And the question is now, do they move from here into the tissue? And when we look closely, we clearly see here also microplastics. So not in the lumen anymore, but taken up by the tissue.
However, plastics are not the only offender within this.
To Japan now, where over 1 million tons of wastewater from the Fukushima nuclear power plant has begun to be released into the Pacific Ocean. The decision to discharge water used to cool damaged reactors was approved by the United Nations nuclear watchdog last month.
Our industrial activities and agricultural runoff are filling our oceans with a lethal cocktail of chemicals. These range from more heavy metals to various pesticides, transforming our seas from a source of water to a toxic and dangerous brew. The devastation caused by our marine biodiversity is unimaginable. As a consequence of these threats, the need for processing ocean water for consumption has magnified. Desalination plants are working at their absolute maximum capacity. They are employing challenging and intricate processes to remove salt and other impurities to make water suitable for human consumption. But as we've already seen, these processes are far from perfect. They are unable to remove all the contaminants, some of which can slip through undetected and potentially end up in a glass of water which you might be sipping at this very moment. Furthermore, the intensified processing of ocean water prompts another question. Are we stripping away all of its minerals in order for us to drink it, have another source of drinking water? The future of our oceans and our own survival depend on it. The once refreshing and life-sustaining oceans are now a cause for concern. So aside from adding more chemicals, what is the solution? Could burning hydrogen be a good source?
Hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe. It's essential for life.
This question has been the centre of specific debates for quite some time. Yes, it might sound like fantasy, burning hydrogen, but it is something that scientists are investing a lot of time and money into. Burning hydrogen is an intriguing yet high-energy process. Hydrogen gas undergoes a chemical reaction when it reacts with oxygen, ultimately resulting in the formulation of water. This particular reaction is known as combustion, a process known to release a substantial amount of energy. But what sets this reaction apart is that instead of the usual byproducts such as carbon dioxide and other pollutants that we usually associate with combustion process, the sole product of burning hydrogen is water, pure, clean, devoid of any harmful chemicals or pollutants. This extraordinary process has got the ability to turn everything on its head for the water supply issue. But surely this must be the answer. This extraordinary process must have ramifications to resolve our water crisis issue. Not quite. Like all inventions and discoveries, this comes with its own unique set of challenges. Firstly, the process of burning hydrogen comes with a significant amount of energy. To give you some idea, 1 litre of hydrogen combusted water takes about 60 kilowatt hours. That's almost 250 miles driving a Tesla Model 3. And Teslas are renowned for their efficiency, so I'll give you some idea. This poses a conundrum. Where will this required energy be derived from? Will the energy expenditure required to initiate the process of burning hydrogen outweigh the benefits of fresh, clean water that it produces? This is a question that needs an answer, and fairly urgently. Another concern revolves around the quality of the water produced by burning hydrogen. While the water is pure and free from harmful chemicals, it's also stripped of any and all minerals.
Does it taste different?
It does, because it's got no minerals in it at all. It's never been in the world.
It's never been in the earth.
Essential minerals such as calcium, magnesium, potassium that are needed in our bodies for an array of functions. If we were to rely entirely on water produced by hydrogen, would we end up missing these crucial minerals? So what would happen if we only drank hydrogen combusted water? Well, you would die. Even though this water is not technically toxic, you won't have any of the minerals or other things that have permeated, that the water's permeated through rocks for millions upon millions, millions of billions of years. So you're not getting any of that. You're just getting a liquid substance which contains nothing. Even if hydrogen combustion water was easy to create, we might find ourselves in the odd scenario of adding artificial chemical nutrients to it, or simply pouring it into the ground, waving goodbye to it, and maybe in your lifetime you'll experience drinking it, but you probably won't. So we would be essentially swapping one issue for another. Would plenty of water, but devoid of any essential nutrients, be a fair trade? It's a delicate balance to maintain, but the burning of hydrogen is an intriguing idea, if nothing else, but it still has many, many flaws. It's a relatively new concept that people need to understand more. The future of water holds many uncertainties. This is a stark reality that underlines the profound interconnection between human actions and the environment we inhabit. It's a solemn reminder that our every action impacts our surroundings. The reality of clean, safe water is for all of us. It's a universal necessity, a right that we must strive to ensure for every person on this planet. As we move forward, people are looking to be more self-reliant. Rainwater harvesting, wind turbines, composting, installation of solar panels. Speaking of which, if you're interested in solar panels, watch this video here. We made this a couple of months ago, and if you've got this far in the video, you'll definitely like this video. And in the meantime, keep watching.